Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion. Let me clear my throat a moment. Here on the channel today, glad to have you along as we get set up to discuss some happening news headlines in Oilers land today. Of course, another day where nothing major has happened, but across the NHL, a couple of pieces have moved around, and now suddenly we have some discussion to be had when it comes to, well, what could the Oilers do? What are the Oilers potentially doing here? And what will we see those Edmonton Oilers do in the next few days? That's kind of the argument we've been going on for the past few weeks now. And well, when the question comes down to it, realistically, the Oilers aren't going to do a heck of a lot, but potentially. Peter, good afternoon. I am live on YouTube right now while recording this video. So if you hear me referencing the chat, well, good afternoon to those tuning into the chat, I guess I should say right now. But as we get going, friends, it is one of those things where the Oilers don't have a lot of moves right now, but they have potential to do something minor, right? We're still looking for that right-hand shot, fourth line centerman. We know that much. So there's a couple of things we're still waiting from the Oilers to happen this month, next month into September. And one of those things is obviously signing Evan Bouchard. But today we got kind of different news on Filip Zadina, who, he got terminated by the Red Wings, mutual termination of contract between him and the Detroit Red Wings. And now what we see is obviously a big push across the NHL media landscape, kind of asking the question, is it possible that the Oilers somehow scoop up Filip Zadina, who is about a 30 point per game or 30 point per season scorer if he averages 82 games? So that's where we currently stand. He'd be a nice little addition on the fourth line, don't get me wrong, if he can produce 30 points a season. But the question realistically is, will that reunion happen because of the cap situation in Edmonton? And obviously, is there actually interest there from the Oilers is another major question on that front. So friends, if I'm talking to you for the first time in a little while, welcome into Dolynny TV, and of course, welcome back after Canada Day. But Michael Zadina is not signed by the Red Wings. They terminated his contract today. That is the big deal. The Detroit Red Wings and Filip Zadina mutually agreed to terminate the contract. He was on waivers yesterday for purpose of terminating the contract, and today he cleared, and that is what has happened today. So that's kind of how I understand it. I mean, I could be understanding it differently, though, but it is one of those situations where he is available to the Edmonton Oilers should they choose to sign him, should they have the space to sign him. And that's where we get into part two of the whole question, is what you guys would have learned yesterday, not from me because I was a little busy playing ball here in Crossfield. You would have learned that Ryan McLeod filed for arbitration yesterday, which means no matter what, the Oilers will have a contract for Ryan McLeod come next season, right? Ryan McLeod choosing to, hey, I want to get paid. I don't want an offer sheet. Let's go. Let's win the cup here, but I need some money. So what that does is kind of, in effect, help and hurt the Edmonton Oilers in some sense of the word, because what that does more or less is make sure Ryan McLeod gets paid, but now you have to delay how long you have to wait until you sign Evan Bouchard, right? That's the problem. Is now because Ryan McLeod is getting paid no matter what, you have to see what that number looks like before you can sign Evan Bouchard, or you risk having to, same situation as last year, punt somebody off the roster to make room for him, right? And we don't want to be doing that. So what you got to look at now for the Edmonton Oilers is simply how quickly, because of the arbitration filing, can you get a Ryan McLeod deal done, and then how quickly can you get an Evan Bouchard deal done? That's the big question here for the Oilers. Quick, make it happen, and that's the way you go. But we also still waiting in the wings have Raphael Lavoie, who we're still waiting word on here shortly. I mean, I haven't checked Twitter since I got into Crossfield, so who knows, I could have missed that signing, knowing the Oilers signing guys at 5 p.m. this week. But that's kind of where we're sitting right now, right? Is the Oilers, I don't think, would be hurt by taking a I don't think the Oilers would be hurt by taking a flyer on Filip Zadina, and that's not saying that he's a bad player, right? I'm just saying there's low risk and tremendous upside there if the Oilers get what the Detroit Red Wings back of yesteryear, the guys who run the Oilers nowadays, saw in Filip Zadina before they drafted him, to the Red Wings way back when he was drafted. So that's where we're seeing it, right? The Oilers could potentially go out there and find another value add like they did in Connor Brown, like they potentially have in Lane Peterson. I do believe that there is something to be said for Lane Peterson being a value add to this Oilers team next season if you don't find a fourth line centerman. But that's kind of where we stand on those guys. But the Evan Bouchard stuff, that is what the scariest part of everything is for the Edmonton Oilers right now, because now, right, he has no arbitration rights. He's free and clear to sign an offer sheet. And Ryan McLeod's number one priority because of the arbitration filing now. So, yeah, that kind of gets a little dicey in my mind, and that's kind of got me a little worried here. But again, I think if there was actually anything to worry about for the Oilers when it came to Evan Bouchard, we'd probably hear about it already, right? We're July 7th tomorrow, so you're already a week into free agency. Nobody's really made any moves. Obviously, all the teams that have cap space, I swear they've already used it. I don't know how many people across the NHL have LTIR money available, but I guess a lot, because there have been some big moves made in the NHL. Obviously, Vladimir Tarasenko remains unsigned. There's a whole bunch of things that still have to happen across the NHL this summer, and that's kind of where the Oilers find themselves in the smallest piece of the pie, realistically speaking, because, right, Filip Zadina, not a big move, right? Some team probably scoop him up for $775, call it a day, and be happy that they got him. And I mean, will the Oilers be that team? That's kind of what everyone's leaning in to ask. But again, we got bigger fish to fry, right? You got to sign Ryan McLeod before the arbitration deadline. Hopefully don't get screwed like we did with Yamamoto and Puljujärvi last year. Then, yes, you got to go out there and sign Evan Bouchard and then see whatever's left over. And if it is indeed both players going to end up chewing up 5.5, 6 mil, you're not left with anything. And then maybe you have to look at trading Kulak or Ceci for a downgrade. And as everyone's kind of talking about this week as well, giving Philip Broberg top 4 minutes, because what other choice do you have, right? And I mean, Philip Broberg, a guy capable of playing the right side, so there is that to be said. But right now, as it currently stands for the Oilers, is your options are getting limited by the day. And if this arbitration case by Ryan McLeod, not necessarily Ryan McLeod exclusively screwing the Oilers, but if it kind of screws the Oilers over in terms of cap space for Evan Bouchard, things could get pretty interesting pretty quick. So I think that all wraps up somewhere around August 4th. So we're still a month away, right? That's 30 days of what's happening today. And that's what we could end up seeing for the Oilers over the course of the summer, is a whole bunch of nothing. News stories like this, the Zadina story pop up, right? Oh, hey, look, something to talk about. And then it's blown over in 2 days. That's typically how Oilers land is anyway in the summer, but it looks like we're in for a long summer of that. So friends, that's really all I've got to talk about on that. So I'll get to your comments now. If I've missed that, let me get to the live chat. There we go. So just to read through for a couple of things. Michael, welcome in. Peter, welcome in if I didn't catch you earlier. Joe, welcome in as well, as you're just talking about more waiting until March to do something. That, I mean, is the consensus in terms of a big move, but right now, Zadina would be a very minimal move, as Michael's saying. And yeah, you know what, Peter, we all wish we could keep Klim Kostin, that's for sure. But yeah, it is one of those situations right now for the Oilers. You can't afford to do a couple of different things. You can afford to kind of mess around and experiment a little bit at the start of the year, because you know Connor and Leon are going to win you more games than they lose you, at least through October until about January. So as long as you kind of outrun those December scaries that we often have, we'll be just fine. So friends, that's where we're at. Dean, welcome in as well. But friends, yeah, so Filip Zadina, keep an eye on him. I doubt anything happens. I really doubt the Oilers go out there and make a move on it, but you never know, right? It is Ken Holland